Okay, let's add a service for detecting shakes now. So I'll do the usual thing. I'm just going to stop Ionic serve, and I'm going to go Ionic G for generate provider, and what are we going to call it? We're going to call it how about shake detector. So this is going to create shake detector provider. So if I go under oh well, we can jump directly there. There it is. There's our shake detector provider. So let's plumb this in. We're not going to get the shaking detection going on right now, but we'll at least use this class. So I'm going to go over to the home screen, and first we're going to inject this. So we'll just go private shake detector SVR for service, SVC meant, and that's of course a shake detector provider. Okay, so we now have our shake detector service. First thing I'd like to do is I'm going to go to our home screen, to our HTML. At the moment, when we click the shake it button, we directly invoke this shake it method. And instead, I'm just going to have this actually route through our shake detector provider. So what am I talking about? Let's go over to shake detector, and we're going to add a convenience method called shake now. Okay, so this is something that externally can be called to simulate a shake, or maybe we should call it simulate shake. I'll just call it shake now. So what's this going to do? Yes, shake now is a method we can call. And let's go back to home and to our, sorry, I meant to our HTML. And now that we have our shake detector service, actually I'm going to jump over to here so I can just grab this word, shake detector service, go into our HTML, and now instead of calling shake it directly, we're going to call shake detector service and our new shake now method. Alright, and while this is going, I'm just going to start the Ionic serve again, because I know it takes a couple seconds to start up. And right, so shake detector service will now call shake now, and I see it says, oh, it's private. We need to make it public. So let's go into our home, and we'll just say this is public. And now, yes, now it's calling a method that does nothing. Thank you. Going back to our shake detector, let's make it do something. So eventually we want our shake detector to basically notify our application when a shake's happened. So we could use a promise for that, although the more modern way is to use these observables. So let's do that. Let's create something that is observable, that tells us when a shake has occurred. So I'm going to say shake, and then $sign. I'm going to use the convention of a $sign at the end of the word to say this is something that's observable. I find that to be a useful pattern. The jury is out. Some people like it, some people say no, it's not right to do. Too much like Hungarian notation. I like it. It clearly says, hey, this is something that's observable. So shake $sign equals, now we could say observable, but I think I'm going to go for new subject. Okay, nice. And I don't know if you caught that. It actually imported subject directly from RxJS for us automatically. A subject is something that is observable, but also provides us an interface for firing that observable. It's really great for bridging kind of old and new code, and that's kind of what we're doing here. What do I mean? I mean, shake now, when the user calls shake now, we want it to fire this shake observable. So I'll wire that in right now. So when shake now happens, we're going to go this dot shake shakes dot next. Okay, right. So what's this doing? This is well, it's going to fire the next method on this shake observable, which means you've got your next shake. So now let's go back to the home screen, and we've hooked up one half of this. We now have when we click on the button, it tells our shake detector, hey, you can shake this now, and shake detector emits this notification. But we haven't actually consumed the notification and done anything with it yet, so that's the next thing that we want to do. Not sure. Oh, there's some kind of a injector error happening there. I'll figure it out afterwards. Let's keep moving along. We know that the shake detector service, we know that we're using it for two reasons. One is when you click on the button, we get the notification. Two is we want to pick up on that notification. So what do we want to do? We want to do this. We want to say shake detector service dot shakes, and we're going to subscribe to this. So we'll say subscribe. Right. So we've now got a subscription, and there's a subscription. Let's see. I'm just going to use the function version of it. What I'm debating here is when you subscribe to something, you can either pass in an object that has three members on it called next, complete, etc., or you can just pass in methods. And I'm going to go for the methods because we only need the one method, which is the first one, which is on next. So we're going to just say function. It's actually data. Oh, wait a second. I don't even need to use the function syntax. I can use the lambda syntax. I'll just go data goes to, and what do we want to do when we detect a shake? We just want to call shake it. So I'll say this dot shake it, and we don't need that. That's pretty sweet. Right. Okay, so now it's time for us to figure out what I missed. Webpack's running. Ah, it's the good old no provider for HTTP error. Ah, yes. Okay, I know exactly what's causing this, and let's go back to our provider, shake detector, and lo and behold, I am passing in this HTTP, and we've never needed HTTP, and we still don't need HTTP, so let's not pass it in. The other alternative is we could actually go to our modules and add support for HTTP, but we don't need it for now, so let's just get rid of it. So that's because our Ionic code, the CLI, assumed we needed HTTP in our project. So now we no longer have that code. Let's hope that everything compiles. I'll get rid of this old copy of Nameshaker. And if we're lucky, let me just summarize what's going to happen here. Now, we shouldn't see any change in the behavior. Now, when we click on our Shake It button, we actually inform our Shake Detector service to do a Shake Now. And Shake Now will, in theory, fire off Shake It for us because we've subscribed to that and we're performing the shake. So let's see if this works. And it's still working. So we haven't broken anything, and we now have the plumbing in place for doing real shake detection. Thank you. Alright, so let's use that Ionic plugin we added a couple steps back. So it's called device motion. So let's inject that. I'll do our shake detector, and in our constructor we'll go private device motion colon device motion. Okay, and it auto-completed it for me, and it also imported it up here. Nice. So now we can just call that. And thanks to the intelligence of Visual Studio Code, we get autocomplete. So we're going to say watch acceleration, and we can see that it takes some parameters here. So if we go to the help for this, scroll, there it is, device motion accelerometer options. Basically it takes one object where we pass in the frequency. So let's do that. We'll say frequency, and we're going to say every 1,000 milliseconds for this test. So every second we're going to start up and get new accelerometer settings. Okay, lastly, let's subscribe to this. So we'll go subscribe, and when we subscribe, that's a subscription and it calls back to us. So what are we going to do? Well, this gives us back the accelerometer data. So I'll say ACK data. And what are we going to do with it? I'm going to just console log it out. So I'm going to console log, and I'll say ACK data, ACK data. Okay. So with this in place, oops, and that's not a statement. If I wanted to make a statement, I'd have to wrap it in curly braces. There. It seems building. Now I know we're going to run into a couple of problems. I'm going to let it actually cause those problems so you can see them. And the first problem we're going to encounter is that I skipped a step when we brought in that native plugin. Up here it said Ionic Cordova plugin npm install and then add to your apps module. I didn't do that yet. So at runtime, if you forget to add to your apps module, you get an error just like this. No provider for device motion. Yes, of course. Of course, we've imported the library here, but the library isn't actually part of the application. It hasn't been imported. That's the way to think about it, at least. So let's go back to our source and go to our module stuff, which is, where is that? That's here, app module. And now we just need to go to the bottom. We go to our providers, and we'll say device motion is one of our providers. Device motion. And with that lovely autocomplete, it even does the other step for me, which is it actually imported it up here from Ionic. So with that in place, that should get us by the first of our errors that I'm expecting. Now, the next error I'm expecting is that we're trying to use this. We're trying to actually use this device motion thing from our web code. Okay, like when this is running in the web, in Chrome, that plugin isn't available. It's only available as part of the Cordova platform. So I'm expecting we'll get a runtime error telling us, well, I'm not sure what the error will be, but I'm expecting a runtime error because we want to wrap this code and anything else that's Cordova specific in a statement that detects if Cordova is there and basically does the appropriate thing if it's not. So there we go. Uncaught promise. Cordova not available. Haha, no shock there. So the next thing we want to do is we want to do that if statement. Let's do that. Let's go, we're going to inject platform. Private platform. Platform. So this is just a, this is just something that we can check, and I'll just let it auto import from Ionic Angular. Platform is just something that we can check to say, does this platform support blah? So I can in here go if platform dot, and then we can go is. And is kind of nice because we're not testing for an exact match. Instead we're saying, does this platform support something? And it's, is it Cordova? You see what I'm getting at here is this platform might be iOS, might be Angular, and both of those will say, yeah, I'm Cordova. So I'll just move my code into here. Undent that and save that. Okay, so if our platform supports Cordova, then we can set up that accelerometer. Otherwise, we'll just skip right by this, and the shake detector doesn't have actual shake detection, which is what we want when we run using Ionic Serve. So let's just confirm that this builds and runs, and if it does, we'll move on to the next step, where we'll actually try this on a device. And our application starts up, and it skipped over that code because it's not Cordova that it's running in, and we can still do our shake it. Okay, so there we go. In the next video, I think we'll in the next little bit we'll try debugging this on. We'll try loading this on an actual device. Thank you. Okay, so let's try to run it on our device. I've got a couple of devices here, an Android phone and an iPad mini. Let's start with the Android phone. So, yes, let's go over here to our command line, and we might as well just start. We're not doing Ionic Serve anymore. Instead, we're doing Ionic Cordova run Android. Okay, now when I do this, it's going to load up a bunch of libraries first time. It's going to be very slow actually the first time, because it has to grab all the Cordova libraries that it doesn't have. Secondly, it's going to try to connect to this device, and if it can't connect, it's going to bring up, it's going to try to start up the Android emulator, which can be interesting for some apps, but we need to shake this thing, so I'd rather it actually talk to our physical phone. The other thing I have to do, in order for this to connect to my phone, I have to turn on development mode. So I'm going to go over to settings, and settings, general, and at the bottom here is developer options, and we turn them on, and we say yes, I'm allowing you to connect. The other thing, and this is really important, is something called USB debugging. We want to enable USB debugging. I'll go OK. Nice. And now I will plug this into my Mac. And when it says USB connection, you'll say allow. Another thing, it's now saying allow USB debugging for this particular computer, and I will say always allow that and OK. Right, so with luck, we've set everything up so that we can talk to this device. Oh, and we can see the file transfer come up. So that's just a side effect of the USB device being plugged in. So anyways, let's hit enter here. Ionic Cordova run Android. So as expected, we're expecting this to actually take a while because it's going to have to download a bunch of libraries it's not needed before and build everything. And finally, when it's done, if we're configured correctly, it'll transfer this application to my device. Let's see it happen. Okay, I'm back. So, hey, it made it all the way through. we now have our Nameshaker application running on our device. I don't need to have this plugged in, so I can just unplug it. And we can click the Shake It button. And that works. And the other thing is we're shaking it. Oh, actually, there's a reason why we do want it plugged in. We want to do some, it's like, well, we're shaking it. We're sending information to the log that we can't see. So we need to do some remote debugging. So I'm going to plug this in one more time. And say allow. And we're allowing it to connect. And how do we see the console for, how do we see the console log that's being generated? Well, there's a cool thing in Chrome about remote debugging. So let's do that. Let's take our Chrome window and let's bring up the developer tools. And you can do this on any page. And over here, we want to go to something called the remote debugging window, which I don't see. So that means I need to go over here and more tools. I'm at remote devices. Go to remote devices. Okay. And it's detected. Woohoo, now you know I've got a Chromecast in this house. And we can also see my phone that's connected right here. And very cool. I'm connected to it. So if we go to console, and if I move this device around, I don't see anything. Let's see if we can figure that out. It's been a while. Oh, right. Okay, so here's my device, and I want to actually inspect it. Much better. Oh, wait. I think I know what I've done wrong. Pretty simple if it's what I think it is. Ah, yes. On remote devices, I picked the very top thing and said inspect that. And that's just a Chrome window. It's not the one we want. The one we want is Nameshaker. So that's what we want to actually start a remote debugging session on. So let's go inspect here and let's see if it's nice. This is what I was expecting actually. So it's giving us a preview of what it thinks our screen looks like, and it's showing us the log. And to refresh your memory, we said every second please start up and dump out all the accelerometer data. So let's take this device, and now you can see as I move it, I get much bigger numbers. That looks good. I think that's something we can work with. Let's move on.